Is religious freedom dead? I'm Brian Lilley with TheRebel.media. I'm not asking that question rhetorically. I mean it. Is religious freedom dead in Western pluralistic societies that claim to love diversity and yet enforce diversity through uniformity? And point to a number of examples in headlines right now. We've got the story out of Indiana, a state that wanted to restore religious freedom. So they passed an act with that name, and it's been denounced around the world as an attack on gay rights. The point of the act was to stop people from losing their business, their livelihood, if they were asked to do something that went against their religious foundations. It doesn't matter that Bill Clinton passed a similar law in the 1990s or that more than 20 states have similar laws. This is being denounced even by governors that govern states like Connecticut that have a similar law on the books. We've got the story of James Lunny, the Conservative MP, who felt he had to leave his caucus in order to defend his evangelical Christian worldview from the media and partisan political opponents. He didn't want the Conservatives dragged down, and he wanted to speak freely. So he's decided to leave the Conservative caucus.
My remarks were inflated by media, blended with other unrelated but alleged heretical statements, and became a top story on national media, creating a firestorm of criticism and condemnation.
I see the honourable member for Burnaby Westminster rising on a point of privilege. A point of order.
I'm not quite sure where the member is going on this. I think we all assumed he was announcing his change in party affiliation or his change to become an independent, but I certainly don't see any point of privilege where he's been impeded in his duty as a member of Parliament.
He seems to now be asking for unanimous consent to have the floor to make this statement. Does the House give its consent to? There's no consent.
Then we've got the story of Angela Kennedy. She's a Toronto Catholic School Board trustee, a nurse as well with decades of experience. Well, there was an opening on the Toronto Board of Health and her name was put forward, but council voted her down 20-17. And the reason? They don't like her faith and how it affects her view on health. She's pro-life, so she's against abortion. She doesn't think that school is the right place for the HPV vaccine to be given out. She thinks that should be between parents and children and their doctor, not something that's just handed out willy-nilly at school without controls. For these reasons, she was turned down. Now that is, again, someone saying we've got to push someone out because they are a person of faith. Now I'm standing in front of a mosque in Ottawa's South End. It's still under construction. You can see it's a large facility. And I'm standing here because I'm wondering if the mosque is going to be the last bastion of religious freedom in Western societies. Because while politicians are quick to act against Christians that want to live out their life in the public square, they're not so quick against Muslims. In fact, they will defend Muslims that want to live out their life in the public square. Now, I don't blame the Muslims that will attend the mosque behind me on Friday or any given day of the week. I blame the politicians because it's their double standard. They will claim that Christians need to set aside their religious beliefs in the name of diversity, in the name of pluralism, and yet they will tell us in the name of diversity and pluralism that religiously observant Muslims have to be allowed to practice their faith in their way. Well, that doesn't make any sense. You know, we can look at the niqab in citizenship ceremonies. That was allowed by a judge. The Hutterite Brethren in Alberta, they were told you have to have a picture on your driver's license. Your religious views be damned. There's an inconsistency, at least an inconsistency if you believe in religious freedom, if you believe that it should apply equally. Our society doesn't believe that it should apply equally. It believes that Christians can be told to bend their faith, to bend their worldview, to genuflect before the altar of secularism, but not other people. That's diversity and pluralism in the eyes of a progressive. It's a worrying trend, and you can point to more stories as you just sift through headlines. You can see the connections. Trinity Western University being told that it can't have a law school as long as their students at a Christian university are asked, not forced, but asked to sign a covenant that says they respect the traditional Christian view of marriage and will abstain from sex outside of that. The College of Physicians and Surgeons of Ontario being told that, or telling their members that if you want to have a doctor's license in Ontario, you can't not prescribe the pill, you can't not refer for an abortion, you cannot opt not to participate in euthanasia, Because if the patient asks for it, your morals don't count. It's never been this way for doctors. It's always been that the doctor's morals and their personal view can come into play. But not on these, because it goes against the scripture of secularism. It goes against the predominant progressive worldview at the moment. It's a worrying trend, as I said, one that I think leads to the inevitable conclusion that religious freedom is dead. It might be protected in the Canadian Charter of Rights and Freedoms that the Liberals proclaim they invented, that they proclaim they uphold, but they won't. I'm not sure the Conservatives will either. In the United States, they've got their First Amendment. It doesn't seem to hold much water there either. People are being told they'll lose their businesses if they don't act in a certain way. Isn't that imposing your worldview on somebody else? Isn't that as bad as saying we all must believe the same thing? This is something that I think anyone that truly believes in pluralism and diversity should be concerned about. I thought the progressives really believed in the live and let live, but maybe I was naive, because while they will preach that, what they really mean is live as I live, or else.